My name is Skam, and I've been doing graffiti for almost 2 decades now. Started this in maybe 1992, and it was for me to deal with a lot of stuff growing up, and that's how it was basically my escape. And graffiti art was very attractive to me because I was into hip hop music and I was a break dancer, and it just led me to do graffiti. And it's been a great journey. I can't complain. I've never thought I would make a penny off of doing graffiti, let alone having a store. Now 20 years later, I make a living off of my art, and I have the store called Home Base, which was opened, I opened it 3 years ago. Unfortunately, back when I started in the early 90s, you had to sort of get your foot in the door into the graffiti world, and it entailed doing tags and going around the city and getting a rep for yourself amongst your peers. But that was then, and that back then we didn't have many legal walls, we didn't have art shows, we didn't have no support. Now it's a lot different. Now, I mean, the illegal aspect of graffiti is always going to be kind of there, but participants don't really have to do that. I mean, now there's so much support in this art. Now it's worldwide, and there's art shows that support. There's even funding from different cities and programs, and there's many legal walls now. So it's changed quite a bit, even with the paint and the supplies. We used to use any kind of paint, hardware paint that we could find in different hardware stores. Now we have companies from Europe that design the paint, specialize the paint for murals and for this type of artwork. A lot of the guys I started with now have families, and they've moved, and unfortunately they can't paint. Fortunately for me, I haven't slowed down in 20 years, and it's great. It's my passion. It's therapy for me, and things change. And I to be honest, I never thought I'd be doing graffiti for this long. I thought I'd be getting a job somewhere at a company, and I never thought I would be my own boss and be a professional graffiti artist and have a shop. It's just been a great journey, and I'm very, very grateful for this. Unfortunately, a lot of my friends now, they have different lives. They have businesses, they have families, and it doesn't allow them to do graffiti. I think it's pretty much the same. The old school rules. It's like, you learn by doing tags and bubble letters, and then you kind of graduate to that. Unfortunately, some people don't graduate to that, but most want to graduate into the piecing, into the muralism, and it's full-blown artwork now. I mean, but it's pretty much the same sort of ladder you got to climb to get some sort of rep. Well, obviously, I think it's not selling out because I'm still doing the same art form that when I get paid, when I do movie sets and commercials. It's very little direction. So, with very little direction, how could anyone be selling out? It's usually, the art director hires me for the film and says, hey, do what you do best. We want your artwork for the background. So it's not really selling out. I don't really get direction. If selling out would mean, doing something specific or doing something you don't really want to do. And throughout the years, people have called me that a few times, and I just ignore it because a lot of them are jealous or they want to be in my position. But when it comes to me, at least I'm a real graffiti artist, because a lot of the times in productions, they'll do graffiti backdrops, but they'll get someone that's a painter, like a scenic painter that does the work, and it's not credible, and once it's all said and done, it's fake graffiti. So at least they've hired and did their research and got me to do some of those sets. If you're trying to eradicate graffiti and get rid of graffiti, you must support the graffiti artists as well. So my advice to the city is to get someone who has respect in the city and on the streets to do those murals, because then you're going to get that protection, that street protection from the kids. Well, I definitely would give him an advice about history, a history lesson. I would say, if you want to start graffiti, great, but learn your history, because graffiti comes from hip hop, and hip hop comes from respect, and get your skills up there too, because nowadays it's easy to be a quote unquote graffiti artist. Anyone could really pick up a can, make a couple stencils, try to be a Banksy, but there's more to it than just that. These kids these days are lucky. They have the internet for influence. They can watch any video on YouTube to teach them the stuff. They have all the paint. They can come to this shop and have paint from 3 different companies, but it's still not enough. You still have to do your research. You still have to know your history. You have to know who you're going over. If you're going over someone in the alley, you have to know your history, or else there's consequences. Your art might not last 24 hours if you go over the wrong person. So it's very important to know the history of your city and where graffiti came from and what it's all about.
Hip-hop gold medalist. Every time I grab the mic, I put my soul on the line. People acknowledge my lyrics. Put my heart into the rhymes for the heads, enough said. Hip-hop